Could we be looking at the next evolution of Overwatch's role lock system? Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel. So the first thing we're going to do in this video is I'm going to play you a little video clip from Emongg. Now I suggest you guys go and follow Emongg. I've met him. He's a cool guy. He's one of the most PMA guys you'll ever meet, which is, of course, positive mental attitude. And for somebody who plays Overwatch every day, I mean, that's an amazing feat. Don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm going to play this video clip in a second. However, I want to float the idea here that we're probably about to get a ban system going into Overwatch, or at least the next phase in the update to the role select system that is currently in the game. Now, remember Jeff's post from, I think it was last week, where Jeff spoke about all of the testing they were doing, things like 3-2-1 comp. We'll briefly touch on that, but I think there's actually some really strong indicators here that we are probably going to get a ban system in Overwatch, and it's probably going to hit around about the start of Overwatch League, which would mean 2 weeks' time. Okay, listen to what Emongg has to say.
I have a feeling that things will improve with Overwatch going forward. I don't know how I know this at all. I don't know how I know it. But I think things will start to improve to the point where I think they're starting to get an idea of what they should do. But I don't really know, I don't really know what they're gonna, if they're going to do anything, or what's going to be happening in general going forward. So we'll see. I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping maybe in a couple weeks or so we can start to see where their mindset is on things. Maybe even less than a couple weeks. So we'll see what happens. I'm not sure.
You gotta love Emongg. Anyway, I don't know where he's got this information from, or if this is actually a thing. I don't have any information. I've got no mad sources that are giving me dodgy information going, oh yes, bans are coming to Overwatch and they're going to hit competitive at the start of Overwatch League. I want to take you guys back, though, to last season. Now, last season with the Overwatch League, it started off just as standard Overwatch, where you could play whatever you wanted to play. And that was, of course, GOATs. Everybody started playing GOATs because this was a super strong comp, and it was very heavy on tanks and supports. You didn't really see DPS heroes, which was kind of sad, especially at the highest level of the game, where you would like to see some sort of a spectator's sport, right? Not just this boring, we're playing like a really slow meta comp, which just never dies, and that's what happened. Anyway, halfway through the season, they introduce Role Queue 222. It completely changes the game. Now, the big question here is, if that was in at the start of the game, of the season, would San Francisco Shock have won the league? Probably, yeah, because they still dominated even with 222. But the question is, do Blizzard want to do that again? I honestly believe that is one of the major failings of the league last year in terms of the way it controlled its meta. Suddenly throwing something random out like that in the middle of the league is not great. So potentially they're going to remedy that, and they're going to remedy that at the start of Overwatch League. Now remember, a lot of this is speculation. This is me just trying to piece things together. We're going a bit random here, just kind of going all over the place. I am sprinkling in a bit of my thoughts into this as well, and what I'd like to see. Potentially we're getting a bit emotional. I don't think we're going to get emotional, but there's a couple of different ways we can look at this, I think, as a whole community. So Jeff wants Overwatch to be a bit more FPS-y. He said this on the forums in his massive post. Jeff also said that they were testing 3-2-1 comp. Now, what this got me thinking is, okay, let's look and let's read between the lines. I think what's been happening is they're trying to work out version 2 of Role Select, of Role Queue. Version 1 is okay, but it's got some problems, right? Namely, it takes a long time for DPS to find a game, and it matches tanks all over the place. Like, you can be in a GM level game and have a diamond tank. It's crazy. And it can be the other way as well. So it's really weird. And obviously people don't want to play tanks because of the state of the meta right now. So how could you fix this? You introduce hero bans. Now, wait a minute. There's people in the background going, Star, you can't introduce hero bans because we don't have enough heroes in the game to actually ban away. I mean, what are you going to ban? And people won't just ban the same heroes, right? You're not going to go into every game and go, okay, I'm going to ban Orisa in this game, so the tanks are going to have to play something else. Your team might ban a Mei. We don't even know what this ban system, if there is a ban system, could look like. This is me just trying to read between the lines into how would you fix some of the current problems with Role Select without adding a bunch of new heroes. Now, this is the little thing I do want to touch on this for a second. But adding a bunch of heroes into the game would fix some problems, right? Because it makes the game feel really fresh. people tried to work out if these heroes are strong. The heroes will get played a lot. It's like, oh, this is a new hero, we're going to play it. Now, if Blizzard introduced 3 or 4 heroes, just went, bang, here's a bunch of heroes, which I don't think they're going to do, because I fully believe they're saving their heroes for the launch of Overwatch 2, so they can have sort of like a, an imitation of the launch of actual Overwatch by going, here's a bunch of heroes. Now, I don't think there'll be as many as the original cast, which I believe was 21 heroes. Right? You guys correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong, actually. But we'll probably get like maybe 6, 7, 8 heroes, something like that. Probably 6 heroes, I bet my money on. However, that would shake up the meta. What that would do is it would throw things into flux. And this is when Overwatch is at its best. This is when the community, I feel, are a bit more chilled out, because we don't have the meta comps and all of that. Now, what Blizzard have been trying to do over the years is they will make balance changes to try and tone things down, beef things up, to try and change the meta. But Blizzard are pretty notorious for making really minor changes now, and they don't have much of an impact on the game. We're playing now with a bunch of nerfs to Doomfist, to Mei, Sigma, Orisa. All these heroes have been nerfed, but they're still super powerful in the game. So it shows you that what Blizzard have been doing isn't harsh enough to those heroes to change the meta. Now, the big question is, should Blizzard just come in and destroy a hero? Now, I have never been subject to this at all in my entire history of playing Overwatch. Where my hero has just been completely obliterated, like just been nerfed into the ground. Yes, I like Soldier. Soldier's probably my first love as a hero. Yeah, okay, he's had a bad time because of loads of barriers and all of that stuff, but he hasn't just been deleted with reduction in stats. It isn't like I was playing, I don't know, let's say Doomfist, and then Doomfist just got destroyed. Well, Brig's probably the best example. I'm playing Brig, I'm enjoying my time, then Brig gets annihilated. Now, there was reasons for that to basically stop goats and all kinds of different stuff, and she was really powerful. And the devs do say that they kind of regret what happened with Brig. But if I was a Brig player, I'd be really pissed off if they just destroyed my hero. So how'd you get around that? Well, you introduce hero bans, don't you? And the more I think about this, the more I talk to myself about this, I'm like, Sty, because I have conversation with myself, because I am mental, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be thinking, look, the thing is, this would change a lot in the game. You could go in, teams can ban a hero each, let's say, and you all get to vote on whatever hero you want to ban. That hero is removed from the game. Then you can't select that hero, and there's 2 heroes that are banned. There could potentially be different hero ban phases. I don't think it could be as comprehensive as something like Dota or League of Legends, simply because they've got hundreds of heroes and Overwatch doesn't. But then I started thinking of scenarios in my head that if Blizzard did introduce this system, which, by the way, I do think a lot of this is lining up, guys. Remember last year, we sort of had murmurs and leaks about 222, although it was kind of known within Overwatch League. The ban system, I'm not too sure if that actually is, and if it even is a thing, but it would be nice if Blizzard actually came forward and started to implement changes at the start of Overwatch League, and that also comes into the game. I guess potentially in an outside shout, we could have maybe a PTR next week, or even this week, which includes some sort of ban system, or maybe straight up includes 3-2-1 comp. Because I guess the massive elephant in the room is, what happens if Blizzard just go, no, roll queue's not 2-2-2 anymore, it's 3-2-1. Now, the thing with that is if Blizzard do that, they would have to completely retool all of the off tanks in the game, because they just would not work. You could not have Roadhog as your main tank. You will die. Your team will literally die. In that case, it's just going to be Winston, Orisa, Sigma, and Reinhardt, probably. All the other heroes, completely unusable. But Jeff did say they moved Roadhog to DPS. Maybe they've done that to other heroes. We just don't know. But I think that's way too much of a radical move to throw out and smash into Overwatch right now. I think what they will do is say, okay, let's try a ban system. Now, in the back of my head again, guys, here, I'm looking forward to the year of Overwatch. I'm a content creator, so what I'm about to say here might not make sense, but let me just explain it. When I look forward and think what's coming out for the game, I'm trying to plan ahead with content. What guides can I make? What discussion videos can I make? And all of this jazz. The issue is, I look at Overwatch and I know that Blizzard are working on Overwatch 2. And that means all of their focus is on that game. We know we're going to get a new competitive game mode. We're going to get a ton of PvE stuff. The graphics engine's updated and whatever. And new heroes as well. But what does that mean for this year? Is Overwatch 2 coming out this year? Is it coming out next year? But even if Overwatch 2 did come out this year, well, that's most likely November at BlizzCon and beyond. I mean, that's a long time away. So I'm thinking, well, what are they going to do to keep the game fresh? Now, we know the Overwatch team has increased in size. I believe it's over 150 developers now, which is a pretty decent size. It's still not massive. You know, that's not a massive dev team for the size of game that Overwatch is. And this is why Overwatch typically has been pretty slow with updates. But we're expecting this to kind of speed up now. And my question is, like, what do they do here? Surely they're not going to stick to the same old, we're going to make these little balance changes and hope for the best. They're just going to come out with some massive changes. And for Jeff to come out on the forums and make his most comprehensive post ever and clearly state they think Overwatch is too focused on team play, they think Overwatch is not as FPS-y as it should be, or at least Jeff does with internal testing. And what about 3-2-1 comp? He's showing us there they are looking at trying to make changes with role queue potentially, and just with competitive. Now, my argument would be, yeah, this is great. If we start seeing changes like this, we can start testing them and see how they work. The big problem I've got, and it comes back to this classical, beautiful word of testing, how the hell can we test this effectively? Blizzard need to implement on the arcade, and I have called for this for years and years and years and years, and I don't know how technical this is because it would be probably pretty difficult to do, but the PTR should be a card in the arcade. It 100% should be. You guys, like, let me know in the comments below if you think I'm right or not. But what that would do is allow console players to play the PTR, and it would allow all the people who are on the live game to play the PTR because it's an arcade card. It could be called something like Experimental Overwatch. I don't know. They could call it something crazy. You go in there, and that's the new systems that we start seeing. New menu systems, new changes. Because I'd like to see all of this stuff. When Jeff talks about 3-2-1 comp, right? I'm like, Jeff, let me play it. Let me play this, but let me play it on the live servers because there isn't enough people on the PTR. It would be impossible to get a good grasp for it. But imagine if it did work on the live servers. Imagine the data the devs would get as well if this was on live. Now, I have to believe Blizzard know this, and Blizzard do want to look at this potentially. I don't know what the content production pipeline is. I don't know what's going on, but the fact remains, guys, this would be an ideal time to start looking at doing something to role queue. Just to try and reinvigorate the game, to try and fix some of these big issues the game has. Long DPS queue times, tanks being like you can only play Orisa and Sigma. You can play other tanks, don't get me wrong, but it can be kind of frustrating at times. Supports as well, locked into certain supports. Whereas if each team had a ban, what would happen in a game, and I think I was trying to make this point a bit earlier, but I got a bit carried away, but what would happen in a game if you banned Batiste and Sigma? What would happen in that game? The game would be totally different, and that would make it so much more enjoyable to play. Now, I want you guys, and I'm losing my voice. I knew I was going to get emotional. I want you guys in the comments below to let me know if you think hero bans would be a good or bad idea. Would you want to see more heroes? What do you think Blizzard could do to reinvigorate the game at this point? Because I don't think we're going to sit here for a year and be like, oh yeah, Overwatch, great. We can come back and check the events, check the skins, but I don't think it's enough. All right, guys. I've been Stylosa. You can follow me on Twitter, which is @Stylosa. And do let me know on Twitter as well. I am losing my voice terribly. Do let me know on Twitter what you think about this as well. So throw me a follow and chuck me a dodgy message on that. Also, I'm on Instagram as well, which is @Stylosa. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one.